Hi, Franco Cavaleri coming to you from Biologic to talk about Curcumin BioBDMC. We have two versions of Curcumin BioBDMC. A recent third one has come about. We'll talk about that later. But this video is a short version of a longer one I just did that you can actually link to on YouTube. But I'm going to run through a quick PowerPoint here and do it as quickly as possible to give you the gist on the Curcumin BioBDMC anti-inflammatory activity, which is quite profound and quite interesting. A discovery that I made during my work at the UBC Faculty of Medicine while I did my PhD work on inflammatory cascades. The curcuminoids became central to my thesis project, and from there, I moved on the project to our biologic lab to determine the pharmacology of each curcuminoid in curcumin. Have a look at this, because all curcumins are not alike. This is not your typical curcumin. We have published papers in peer review that discuss how the technology works and why, and it works on the general inflammatory cascade called the NF-kappa B signaling pathway. And it's very important to know that curcumin can be quite different from batch to batch unless it's standardized as our Curcumin BioBDMC. And here's why. If we look at this slide here, we've got turmeric. Turmeric is a spice. Turmeric is not curcumin, and curcumin is not turmeric, but turmeric has curcumin in it. And turmeric, the spice, usually has between 3 and 6% concentration of curcumin. But when you extract curcumin at 95% to 97%, there's another variable that most people don't realize, and that is that curcumin is made up of 3 curcuminoids. And you can see in the slide, there's diferylylmethane, dependable, and bis-Demethoxycurcumin. And you can see that the amounts in each batch is a range. It's not always the same from batch to batch because this is a natural compound. The thing is that we went in to do research and we show that curcumin 1, 2, and 3 have differential pharmacology. As much as they have similar activity on NF-kappa B, which is one transcription factor involved in the generation of cytokines, inflammatory compounds, the regular curcumin cannot, as it says here on the slide, regular curcumin or curcumin 1 and curcumin 2 cannot inhibit MSK1, a specific protein that's involved in regulating inflammation and critical to be neutralized. Regular curcumin cannot neutralize MSK1. And regular curcumin does not effectively enhance BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, because the majority of that activation or transcription increase is caused by the bis-Demethoxycurcumin, which is that curcumin 3 that we've discovered novel activity for. And you can see this is a quick slide that shows all the other curcuminoids do not inhibit MSK1. And you can see the yellow circles. That's the low bar showing very little MSK1 in the cytosol and in the nucleus. And that is caused by our Curcumin BioBDMC, whether it's the BioBDMC 50 or the BioBDMC 30. What's the difference? Well, regular curcumin, again, only has, you can see it on the left, between 0.2 and 2% concentration of that bis-Demethoxycurcumin. So it never participates in the pharmacology. Whereas you can see the BDMC 30, which is an over-the-counter product, there's no range for the curcumin 1, curcumin 2, and curcumin 3. It is standardized, locked in, and that way you know what you're getting every time. And it's locked in with knowledge, because we map the pharmacology to the genome and the proteome to know what each of those does. And now we know what we want them to do to optimize the anti-inflammatory activity. Curcumin bis-Demethoxy 30 has 30% of the BDMC in it, whereas regular curcumin only has between 0.2 and 2% and could be as high as 3%. Regular curcumin cannot inhibit MSK1 simply because the bis-Demethoxycurcumin levels are too low. And if you go to BDMC 50, it has 50% bis-Demethoxycurcumin in it, as you can see here. So it has more. And that is typically used in our professional product lines. So why is this important? It's because MSK1 activates NF-kappa B. What does that really mean? It means that MSK1 is responsible for activating the transcription or generation of the cytokines like TNF-alpha, IL-1, IL-2. These are cytokines that induce inflammatory activity. And as you can see on this page, the Bio-BDMC 30 has 60 times more BDMC than regular curcumin, 1,200 times more BDMC than regular turmeric, the spice. And you can see that the BDMC 50 has even more. That increment in the BDMC provides a better potency in the deactivation or inhibition of, as you can see here, NF-kappa B and MSK1. And so regular curcumin cannot, again, critically important, cannot inhibit MSK1. And if you look at this thing here, this pathway that shows how the NF-kappa B is going into the nucleus, what happens is it has to be activated by MSK1. And if we're neutralizing MSK1, we are slowing down the production of those cytokines involved in the inflammatory cascade, including TNF-alpha. And so if we move on here, we see that even in the context of inflammatory cytokines, that the curcumin BDMC 30 is effectively performing way better than ibuprofen and aspirin, up to 14 times better. And so, curcumin BioBDMC is used effectively to treat inflammatory conditions. It was studied originally because of my severe ulcerative colitis and the relief that the specific proportion that we extracted and then fine-tuned to target those proteins specifically. We were able to do so, then patent that, and then move forward with a product that is more effective than regular curcumin. Now, inflammation is also a factor that affects aging, and we won't go into the details. In fact, our ability to regulate inflammation declines with age, which propagates inflammatory activity, then causes an escalation in age. It's almost an exponential cycle. So we can actually take our curcumin BioBDMC to improve inflammatory controls even in the aging process. And again, another slide that shows us regular curcumin in those results cannot inhibit the MSK1 protein. That, in a nutshell, is the quick version of our seminar speaking to curcumin BioBDMC, and both products, BioBDMC 30, BioBDMC 50, have an effective usage program that at one, the BDMC 50 is in the professional channel, whereas the BDMC 30 is more in the over-the-counter channel. Both are extremely potent anti-inflammatory agents, and if you need more information than I've just delivered in this, you can go to the YouTube version of that. Thanks very much. Have a great day.